All right, guys, happy Thursday. This is April 16th. Today's call, we're going to go over how you add in checklists for your contract to close process into opportunities. Okay, so we're going to go all the way through this process. May or may not be an hour. We'll obviously kind of see based on questions, but we won't go all the way through into DocuSign and all the rest of opportunities like we do in some of those other classes. We're going to kind of focusing on that part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If that's okay with everybody. And I actually hope that you see Facebook. Everybody see Facebook? Pretty good there. Just take a couple head nods and make sure we're all good to go. All right. So the reason why I wanted to start here actually was because before we jump into command, I wanted to kind of point out to everybody, we have some new people on the call. I want to make sure everyone is a member of this page. So if you go to Facebook and you just type in KW Alliance Tech Mastermind, Technology Mastermind, you should find this, ask to join, and I will approve you. And what I'd like everyone to look at here just before we go over to command is when you first come to this page, on the left-hand side, you'll see a section that says Files. Underneath of Files, the first two files actually that were uploaded back in July of last year, you'll see one that says Customize Your Sales Pipeline for Sellers and another that is for Buyers. So I just want to point out where these are. You can go download these directly from the Facebook page. And what they are is, as before we even get into opportunities, when you download them, they look like this. And so these were put up on one of the other KW pages by an agent. And so as we start going through this today, you will realize that there is no checklist when you start, right? So KWRI is taking the position that this is a customizable pipeline. People can move things around. So because of that, they did not kind of upload a generic checklist. So we put this here for you so you can use it. So if you don't have a contract to close checklist, or you wanted to take yours and this one and kind of combine them. So I'm going to relay back to these two documents several times throughout the call today. So I just want to make sure as we start, everyone knows where those documents are. Okay, so Facebook, and then below that, click on Files, and you're going to look for these two that say Customize Your Sales Pipeline. Any question on that part? And then we're going to go ahead and jump into command. Perfect. Remember that you guys can use the chat feature, so don't be scared to use the chat feature if you got a question. Got that up here on my screen, and we'll answer those questions. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into command, agent.kw.com, and go ahead and get logged in. And we're going to spend 100% of our time today in the opportunity section, which is the two little hands over here that are shaking. Okay, so let's go ahead and click into opportunities. And what I want to do is I just want to give you a quick demo on what is possible. And then I will go back and we're going to go click for click and I will show you how to do all these different things. So raise of hands, those that I can see on the screen, who's using opportunities? So who knows kind of what opportunities is meant for? There's a couple people, okay. All right, so opportunities actually has a few different reasons behind it. One is obviously this is where DocuSign and compliance now lives, right, for where we're going. I know we have the Manassas Market Center on here, so Manassas is already starting to move over and move into DocuSign. The rest of us will be there whenever we get back into working. But so that's in here. But really what we're going to look at today is the other, the reason that opportunities is here is I want you to imagine that this is like your whiteboard in your office, right, where you can put in listings that you may be generating, right? Leads that you're generating for listings and for buyers. So these are three pipelines. So you have a listing pipeline, a buyer pipeline, and a leasing pipeline. Now it says cultivate, appointment, under contract, and we'll go back. There's 5 of them, right? So cultivate, appointment, active under contract, and close. Those are called phases. And we cannot change those. Those are the static names of those phases that KW has given us. So this is kind of the 30,000-foot view of your sales pipeline, right? How many people am I working on cultivating relationships for? How many appointments do I have set? And you can see that as you create opportunities based on where they are in the pipeline, you'll be able to see how many active listings I have right now, how many I have under contract. All right, so this is actually my pipeline. It gives me some revenue projection over here based on those opportunities in this pipeline. And again, they're separated out from listings to buyers. So once you create an opportunity, I'm actually going to jump in here. And I'm going to move this deal all the way back to the beginning of where it kind of starts. So let me jump back. What I did there was, if I want to zoom in on any of these different categories, I simply click on the icon. So I'm going to click on cultivate icon here, and it's going to zoom me into that pipeline. Now you'll notice that I've got the blue line up here, and that tells me that I'm in the cultivate section. And I can jump into different sections by simply clicking on the name, and the blue line will change based on where I am. So again, I mentioned that these 5 are static. I cannot change those. But in each of these different 5 phases, you can create your own boards here that are customized to your business. So generically, when these came out in the listing pipeline in the cultivate section, for cultivate, they're called watch, nurture, and hot. Those were the names of the 3 boards that KW gave you. I don't know what that means, right? So in my own business, I'm not sure what watch and nurture, I don't have those defined. And so what you are able to do is customize the names of these boards. And so I've customized them to match my business in the way that I think about things. So on the listing side, you know, if I talk to somebody and they said, hey, thanks for reaching out, but we're going to sell next year, right? I could create an opportunity, and I've named my board 2021 listings because that makes sense to me, right? And so I'm able to change the different names of these boards. And then let's say Karen and Don call me and they say, hey, you know what? We actually need to sell in November. Just giving you a heads up, right? We're going to sell in November. I can actually move by dragging and dropping this opportunity. I can move the opportunity into the next board, right? And then I set an appointment with Don and Karen, and I can actually drag this up and drop it into appointment, and now they'll be over in the appointment time slot. Okay, so does everyone see how we're moving these tiles through the opportunities pipeline as part of our process? Now, the second part of this is you can see here that I have added a checklist to this board. And so you can add a checklist to each one of these boards. And so in this situation, I have said, hey, Don and Karen are a scheduled appointment, and I put in 4 checklist items. And so I can click here, and every opportunity I drop into this board will have these 4 checklist items. So I've inserted send my pre-listing packet, send a welcome email, pull the comps for that property, right? So if I set up this checklist one time, every deal that I move into that section will get those 4 checklist items applied to it. Everybody good there? So I'm going to go back and show you how we create these different checklists. So obviously, as an example, I can say for Don, I need to come in here, and let's say I did the pre-listing packet. I could check it off and say it's done, right? And as I come back out, you'll now see when I hit close, this is a nice little thing telling me that I've done one of the 4 checklist items that has to happen in this phase. I can click on this again and come back in and say, yep, I sent them the welcome email, but I'm not going to pull comps till tomorrow. So what you can actually do here is you can see that when I'm on this checklist item, if I go over here to the right, there's a button here that says set due date. And so I can come in here and I can say set a due date, and I want that due tomorrow. And I can click on OK. And you can see here now that it's time-stamped it. So a task, an opportunity task was just created. So tomorrow when I log into Command, if I look at my tasks, my opportunity tasks, it'll say, hey, you got to pull comps for Don and Karen. Right? So this is a great way to sit down and kind of organize everything that needs to be done, and then the system will kind of just help you along with it, right? And then the last thing here is, got this one in as more of a joke. I could click on send flowers, right, and hit close, and now I've done 3 of my 4 checklist items have been completed. All right. Now I saw a chat there. Let me just go over to the chat feature and see what the question was. We don't move forward there. Kyle, I have a team of 2. In the view for just myself, nothing shows up in cultivate appointment or active. Is the rain? All right, so let me go back here for just a second. So Stacy, for you up top, make sure there's a drop down up top here. Make sure you select your team, right? That should be the first thing that you do. And then we can probably meet one-on-one, and I can help you with some of the team stuff. I've got no problem doing that. Over here, you're gonna see it should say your name. It should say Stacy Martin, and then it should say your team name. If you click on your team name, that's where you should see all the opportunities from your agents that are underneath it, right? There's also should be a drop down over here where you can select each one of your agents and see their opportunities in their pipeline. All right, so I'll come back and help you with that. Now, Stacy, the good news is, for the purpose of the call today, any checklist that you put into the system here will trickle down to your buyer's agents, right? So as the rainmaker, if you create your checklist on how the deal is supposed to happen, when they log into Command and they're working opportunities, they will also see those checklists.
Can you change out the checklist each time, Kyle?
So what you're going to do is you basically are going to create one generic checklist. All right. You can add things though to each deal. Right. So if I need to add in a septic inspection for somebody, I can add that to the checklist, but it's not necessarily on my default checklist. So I'll show you here in just a second when we create this.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, my question is because my husband does a lot of commercial, so I'm wondering if I can just switch it out for his checklist.
I got you. Right now, that is not possible.
Okay.
Okay. So unfortunately, no. That's a good comment though. They are starting to in DocuSign. You can now select different checklists, and that'll change some of the things. I'm hoping we're going to see that in opportunities too, so you would be able to do that. All right. All right. So everyone understands just the creating the opportunity, moving that card around, and then seeing the checklist items that are due in that category. Right. Any questions on that? All right. So let's get down to customization. Right. Let's talk about how we're actually going to build this thing. So I'm going to go back to cultivate. And so the first thing is that you need to know is if you wanted to edit any of the boards or add a checklist to any of these 3 boards underneath the cultivate, you have to be in that section. Right? So if I wanted to work on a checklist in the active section, I'd have to be in the active section in order to do that. All right, so let's go back to cultivate. I've got the blue line here. Top right corner, you see where it says edit stages. If you click on edit stages, this is where you will see the names of those 3 boards underneath of cultivate. So again, generically, if this is the first time you're looking at this, they might say watch, nurture, and hot. And so I've changed mine. And what you can do is you can edit the name of your board by clicking on the pencil right here. And so that's where I changed the word watch, right? It originally said this. I said, that doesn't work for me because I don't know what that means. I came in here and edited it. And I said, hey, this is going to say 2021 listing. And I can hit save, right? And that's going to be the new name. Now, you can also add boards. So let's say I wanted to be very, think forward here. I could actually add a stage, right? If I wanted to add another board, and I could add in 2022 listings. Okay, and I can hit save. And you'll see here, I now have a 4th board, and I can very easily click this little button right here and move it up. And I would want to move it up because remember, the pipeline works from left to right. So if I left it down here, I'd be moving a tile from 2021 to 6 to 12 to 0 to 6 to 2022 out of chronological order, right? So I'm going to create that. And if this is supposed to happen before, I can do this, all right? So if someone then said to me, I'm going to sell once Johnny graduates high school, and I know that's 2022, I could put them in that section if I wanted to. All right, so that's how you name the boards. That's how you customize, add a board. You can also delete a board. So in this case, I'm going to click on delete, right, and get rid of that 2022 stage because that's a little bit far out for me. So that's probably not something I'm gonna do. Now, to the right of the name of the board, you will see it says checklist. This is where you're going to add in those checklist items. So if someone was, let's do one together. So if someone was going to be selling in 6 to 12 months, and you knew that, what are some tasks that you would want to make sure you do for that client? What do you guys think?
Monthly updates.
Okay, so I could say send a market update. All right, so what I can do here, Frank, is I can click on the word checklist here. It says 0 of 0 items. I can click on that, and it says, all right, you're creating your checklist for cultivate 6 to 12 months. I can click add item, and I can say send market update. And hit save, and you'll see I now have one checklist item. Okay, I could do another one, and I could say send client event invitation. Right, and I can come over here and I can click save. All right, so that's how you begin adding checklist items. So I didn't hit save, and let me show you why. So let me do that again. So send market update. I hit save. Let's do another one, event invitation. I hit save. Make sure you come down here below and hit save. All right, now that I hit save, under 6 to 12 months, you can now see I have 0 of 2 checklist items. So those are the 2 checklist items that I just entered in.
Hey, Kyle.
Yes.
Is this the place you should be putting phone calls?
Yeah, so if you want to make a phone call to them, you could do that. But like once I check it off, Frank, right, then it's checked off. So I'm probably not going to put phone calls in here because I'm going to go back to my board and just revisit all the people who said they were selling in 6 to 12 months. And that's where I'm just going to make a phone call to them, right? So I'm not going to actually create that as a different task. All right, so any questions on creating a board, editing the name of the board, or adding in the checklist for that board. Are we okay on that?
Hi, Carl, this is Ramon. I have a question.
Yes.
Is there any limit about number of stages that can be displayed on the screen? Like, for example, here, if I have a client who's thinking to buy in the next 2 years, like 2022, and still also have client who's willing to sell his house next year,
Right.
and so on. So I see here that we have 3 stages. So is there any limit? Like we can display like 5, 6, 7 stages and so on, or no?
So I believe the max right now is 6, as I believe. But remember, it's 6 underneath of cultivate, right? And then I have another section here, which is appointment and active. So each one of these could have up to 6 of these boards. All right, so I could put 2022, 2023 if I wanted to. Okay.
Okay.
So
okay,
now let me move back one of these cards. So I'm going to move back Don and Karen. I'm going to drop them here, right, back into cultivate. And so remember, I put in 2 checklist items for 6 to 12 months. So now when an opportunity hits 6 to 12 months, there's my 2 checklist items that I just put in. And I can click on that and it'll show me, right, send market update and event invitation. Right, and those are the 2 that I just added in there. Now, Stacy, just so you know, when you're on a team or anyone else that's on a team, if you're looking at this checklist item, you will see another little subsection right here next to set due date that will say assign task. And that's where you can assign it to one of your team members. So if this was something that your husband was supposed to do, you could assign it to him and he will see that show up as a task in his command.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What this is here, where it says client update, is they're building this out right now. Whereas if you wanted to, when I click off on send market update, it can send an email right to the client and let them know that they're through that certain part of that transaction. So instead of me having to actually click off that I sent a market update to Frank, I could actually create that email. And so when I check this, because it is a client update box, right, it could send that email out to them to let them know. So that's something that's coming. That's not happening right now. Now, what I was going to show you was now, again, 0 of 2. And let me move this other one back. Let me go back to cultivate. Go to cultivate. All right, do you see how I have 2 boards here now? And they each have the generic 2 checklist items that I just entered in. Let's say for Nick, there was something additional, though, for his deal that I wanted to do for him. So I can click on that 0 of 2. There's my 2 generic. I can also now add an item and say, send over designer. Right? And I can click save and hit close. And now Nick has 3 items that need to happen. So everyone starts with like the generic checklist, and then you can add in specifically what needs to happen in each deal just by clicking add more. Okay. So that is that's the way that you create these different checklists. So what I was showing you here, going back to the form, was this is the listing checklist. And so you can see that it says cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. So this sheet works top to bottom where we're going left to right. But underneath the cultivate, these are the 3 names of the boards, right? Watch lead, nurture lead, hot lead. And these would be the checklist items that would happen underneath that board. So again, if you're just starting from scratch and you don't have any sort of checklist, this might be a good one to use. So let's kind of show you again how to use this. I'm going to go to active, and let's say I wanted to put in, prepare a listing, and these are the checklist items that I need to put in. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to make sure I'm on the active section. I will click on edit stages, and then I've got my 4 boards here, right? So pre-listing, on market, negotiate, legacy. So let's say I wanted to add some checklist items to negotiate. I'm going to click on there. I'm going to come back to this little sheet here, and they've got a board here called negotiations. So I might have to come in and add a couple of these. So let's say I want to create an offer comparison. This is how you can use this sheet. You can actually highlight the checklist item, copy it. So I hit Control C, go back to command, hit add item, and you can hit Control V. And I can say save, right? And that starts adding in those different checklists for me. So this takes a little bit of time because they're not uploaded. You have to sit here and type in your checklist basically for every single board. But if you do it one time, then every single opportunity is going to be assigned to it, and you don't have to do that each and every time. Okay. Questions on how to use this to add in your checklist? Everybody good on that? Have I lost anybody totally? Juanita, you sticking in there for me?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I just have one. Where did you? I got a beep just as you were saying where the checklist was.
Okay. So go to my Facebook page, KW Alliance Technology
Gotcha.
Mastermind.
Okay, yeah, I
In
remember.
the files section, right from the class that we taught down there. Frank, I
Yep.
heard you jump in there.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Kyle, if you enter something in 6 to 12 months,
Mhm.
does that calculate a timeline for you?
Nope.
Because when it comes out, does it automatically move something into 0 to 6 months?
No, so I mean, I would have a separate checklist here for 0 to 6 months, right? What are some things that need to happen right
But,
before we go on the market? So as
but
I
the
move
top-
it from this section to this one, I would get a new checklist assigned.
Okay, you have physically got to move it. It won't move it by itself.
Yeah, not right now. Now that is the design. That's what KW is trying to get to, which is, that it can read the dates and things like that. But I would have to physically move this tile, and then I get a new set of checklist items.
Okay.
Okay. Now I also want to show this to you. When you click on the checklist, so like here, I don't have any checklist items set up in 0 to 6 months. When I click that button, it'll open the screen. All right, you see that? It says no checklist items for this stage, and I can add some items here. Up top, though, I want you to notice where you can actually move forward and backward through the pipeline based on your checklist. So if I move somebody forward or a teammate did, I could go in here and just click back and go, hey, did we do all 3 of those things that were supposed to happen? Right? And they didn't, right? So I can come in here and say, hey, what do we need to do here? Did we get these things done? All right, so you can toggle back and forth. Once you're in the checklist view, you can toggle back and forth and look at all the checklist items as you move forward and back.
So what stage would you put, like I'm just looking at mine to see what I have in there or what I don't have in there. So when I'm in, say, listing appointment, it's, schedule it, and then I guess, did you have the appointment? Then it jumps to, and I know I can change it, but then it jumps to active, let's say.
Sure.
It's almost like we had an appointment, now all of a sudden it's active. So
Yep.
Under appointment, do you add all those other things like order your sign and put the lockbox on, or
It's a
where do
good
you
question. So the way that I've thought about this, and obviously this is just my kind of opinion on this. So I've changed my boards to say scheduled appointment, right? Where any upcoming appointments, they would be in that box. Then let's say we go to the appointment and they did not sign the agency agreement, right? So I need to think about it, or we're interviewing more people. I would move them into this section and create a follow-up checklist, right? What needs to happen there. Now, if they sign the agreement, to me, that's an active agreement. So what I've done is I have created my first board. I'm going to move one there so we can see it. My first board in active is called pre-listing. And so that is where I've uploaded here, call sign companies, schedule stagers, order photos. Those are all in the active section underneath the pre-listing board. Then my next one is on market, right? So I would move that person from here to here whenever we actually hit the market. That's the way I've set mine up, Stacy.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Right, so mine, if you guys want to look, because this is kind of the ones that I've ran through. So cultivate, I've got the years, I've shown you that one. Appointment, we just did. Scheduled appointments, no signed agency, appointment follow-up. If I get a signed agreement for listing, it would be pre-listing with those different items about coming on market, negotiate. Legacy, does anyone know what the legacy section is for?
Post-closing.
So legacy, kind of a little bit strange, Frank. Legacy was set up so that if you import in your loops into opportunities, they don't know where that loop's supposed to go, right? Because it's not kind of the same language. So they actually drop all of your .loop loops into legacy, and then from there you can move them around in your pipeline to wherever they're supposed to be. Okay. So
It has nothing to do with post-closing.
No. So here, remember, I'm in active, right? So I'm not there yet, but we'll keep moving forward. So I'm going to move over to under contract. And so what I've got is ratified contract inspections contingencies, right? And that's where I drop somebody while we're doing home inspection and all those. My major hurdle when I'm listing a property is just, okay, we're through everything except for financing. So I've created that board as my next one, financing contingency only, and then clear to close. And then Frank, once I clear to close and I put somebody into closed, that's where they'll have the post-close systems here of, what needs to happen right as someone moves in. That's where I can put in, order pizza, and come back in here and go, have I ordered them pizza yet since they moved into their house or something like that. Now what this does is, I've heard two conflicting things here. I've been teaching it a certain way for over a year, but I've had someone this morning actually tell me something different. And I'm not sure if it's true or not. I have been told that when you move somebody into the closed section, they will remain in that closed section here until the end of the month. And the reason that is because this is a monthly revenue projection tool, right? That's what they're trying to project out to you is, you know, how much income could you make this month? So they will sit here at the end of the month. This will automatically go to 0. But remember, at any moment, you can go up here to all opportunities and see all the opportunities, no matter what stage they're in. So if you need to go back and look at documents in there or whatever it's going to be, they'll be up here, right? But they come out of your pipeline once they've closed. What someone told me this morning was that they go into closed and they'll be there for 30 days. And they may have changed that because one of the common things I'd heard is, you know, I close somebody on May 29th, and then within a day or two, they're out of my pipeline, and I didn't have a chance to go through and checklist all those post-close systems. So they may have changed that to be 30 days. So I've got 30 days to make sure everything's wrapped up before they clear out of that pipeline tool. Okay. Now, the last big thing I want to hit here and make sure we're all good on is you guys had seen where I had scheduled like a couple of these. Let's go back to pre-listing. Again, I'm just going to do it again here. So when you have these checklist items, let's say create marketing materials. I don't want to do that today, or I don't have time to do that today, but I also don't want to forget about that. So this is where I come in here and say, set a due date, and the due date's going to be Monday, right? Because maybe I have pictures being taken today. So just don't let that fall through the cracks. So I hit OK. It says April 20th, 1:28 p.m. So where does that show up? Is usually the main question.
Yes.
Remember that we have a task section over here on the left. If you click on tasks, you will see when we get in here, you have contact tasks, you have opportunity tasks. So contact tasks would be like my smart plans, right? I need to follow up and talk to these certain people. And if I click on opportunity tasks, I get a second drop down of things that need to happen. Now I want to point out here, it defaults to today. Right? So in today, you're going to see either things that are due today or past due items. That's why all of these have shown up here, right? But if I did, hey, show me everything that's due in the next 7 days, right? Schedule coming soon. And that's the one I just did for Don and Karen, right? Due on 4/20 for Monday. So that's where your opportunity tasks will show up if you schedule them inside of opportunities. So Stacy, same thing with teams. If you assign it to your husband or a team member, they go into their opportunity tasks. I would see that's something I need to complete from my team lead or something like that.
And then Kelly tells you when your task is due, right?
I wish. So here's the problem right now. This is just, you know, we've all reported this feedback. We'd like to see these two task lists combined, right? And kind of just make it like one to-do list for the day. So I've got to call Frank and do a care call, and then I've got to order photos for Patrice. Right now, they still have it separated. The only tasks that come through to your phone are contact tasks. So you get that 10 a.m. text message and it'll say you have 7 things due today. That's only contact tasks. It does not include the opportunity task. So if you're going to use this, which a lot of people are, just make sure that this is kind of a daily habit that you go into when you click on here.
Yep.
Okay. Questions at all on any of that, guys? I do want to show you, this was a change they just made though. I was looking to see if it had launched, and it looks like it has. When you come into your dashboard, right, these are your contact tasks right here, so you don't actually have to click into tasks. Notice that they've now added a little drop down up here on the right, where I can drop this down and say, hey, let me see my opportunity tasks. So you can actually quickly toggle back and forth and see what they are, which has been a nice enhancement. And then I know, and then the other nice thing is this is now a hyperlink. So if it's like, hey, I need to send flowers, you can click on Hundle and it'll take you right into the opportunity. You don't need to go into opportunities, find the card, click on it, right? It's kind of like a nice little shortcut. All right, so these are the checklists. The other thing I was just gonna say is that some other people I've seen have chosen to create their checklists as they're moving people through their pipeline. So if it was something you didn't want to do and sit down right now and spend an hour typing all these checklists out, I've had a few people tell me that, you know, they started a listing in a buyer and they kind of just went back here every couple of days and typed in everything they did for that buyer or that seller the last couple of days. And they kind of built their checklist as they were moving a deal through that pipeline. And I had something happen to me last year when we first started using this. Was I closed 2 people on the same day. Both of them texted me like 2 days ahead of time and asked who to write the settlement check out to. And so I realized that was something that I completely missed, or they both would have had that question. So when that happened, I just came back into this section here and I went to under contract. I went to my clear to close section, went to edit stages, right? Came into clear to close, and I was able to add that as confirm the check, right? So that way, every deal I do going behind that, hopefully that won't be a problem. So learn from your mistake and add that into your checklist, and hopefully you avoid that problem. All right, so checklists. Any questions in terms of where to enter them, how to customize them? Anything else? Yeah, so Stacy just asked. So Stacy, I'm recording the call. What I will do is I will upload it to YouTube here in a little while as soon as it's done converting, and I will post that YouTube on this page right here. So you can have your admin subscribe to this. That's fine as well, and I will approve them. And then just like I did yesterday, you'll start to see, you'll see all the videos posted here on this Facebook page. Anything else, guys? That was the shortest class I've ever done in a year and a half. Pretty good, huh?
Good.
All right, perfect.
That was great.
All right, great. So again, just remember Alliance Group, Files, scroll down to the bottom. There's your pipeline tools there. Go to Command, make sure you're in Opportunities. Zoom in. You have that little blue line there. Edit Stages. So you change the name of the boards and add your checklist items. So go do it a couple times. I find that if you get off this call, go take 10 minutes and put in a few checklist items. As soon as you repeat that process yourself, you remember it and you go back. But if you just say, I'll work on this next week, I almost promise you'll call me and say, how do I add a checklist? I've forgotten the clicks. All right.
Thanks, Kyle.
You're welcome, guys. I'll talk to you soon. If you need anything, let me know.
I stay.
See ya.